saved me money, saved me time, saved me a headache, and has just been a godsend for so long.
Welcome back, friends, to another episode of Success by Design with yours truly, Michael T. Davis. And I am here with the amazing Kiamarie Lambert of Kait Photography. If you have not met Kiamarie, you are in for a treat. She is named top 100 Nikon photographers, and she's actually one of the first Black female photographers to speak for Nikon, which is phenomenal. She has bright, ethereal, and fun-filled wedding images for all of her couples. And the beauty of it is that everyone leaves with these beautiful albums. And she's been doing this for over 15 years. And we are here to hear about how everything is done. Kaya, thanks for joining us.
You are very welcome. Thanks for having me.
Not a problem. So tell us a little bit about yourself for the people who don't know you.
Yeah, absolutely. So actually, this is my 16th year doing weddings, and I fell into it. Right now, I'm going to date myself. So when I started my wedding photography company, there was no Google, and there wasn't, if there was Google, it was so fresh, nobody used it. There was no Instagram, there was no Facebook. I would take my photos of friends out of college that were getting married, and I would post them on MySpace. And then people would see my pictures, contact me and say, hey, you took blah, blah, blah as wedding pictures. And I'm like, no, I was just a guest. These are just some pictures I took. And they would say, well, how much would you charge me for my wedding? And after so many people started hitting me up on MySpace, Kait Lambert Photography is actually my second company. I had KSS Photography prior to me getting married, but that's how my wedding photography business was born.
That's beautiful. I love how, like, before social media was as big as it is, you're like, yes, like I was killing it on social media.
I was.
On MySpace.
I was. I had, and it would be funny. So if I did shoot a wedding, I would make the couple and like maybe their maid of honor and best man my top 8. So then they would go look at like my pictures and they'd feel special. They were my top 8 friends. And then word of mouth would pick up. But yeah, I started this before social media was a thing. So even when I mentor and I teach, I always tell people social media is amazing. And 9 times out of 10, it's free. But your biggest career making move is word of mouth. So every time you're shooting or you're out in public, always carry yourself appropriately because you never know where your next job is coming from.
Oh, that's beautiful. You started out and killing it on MySpace and putting those images, and I'm thinking digitally, right? So where did the print come in? When did you start falling in love with, not only digital, but actually printing out images for your couples?
Oh, I love this question. So my mom bought me a Kodak EasyShare camera. So you were able to take it, plug it in with the USB cord to a printer, and you could print pictures out. The biggest you could go would be 4x6. So then I would go to my local mom and pop's like photo shop. I think there was a Kmart that had photo albums, and then this Photo Center was the name of the local business we use in town. And I would buy a wedding album that was just 10 by 10, which is standard in size, and it would be white and it would say generically our wedding. And I would print out the pictures from my little Kodak EasyShare, and then I would stick them in the sleeves and flip the page and stick them in the sleeves. And then when I would get to about 100, because I think it had 50 pages and you could do like 2 on each page, that was the wedding album that I gave my couples. Fast forward probably 2 years into my business is when digital albums, flat lays, everyone was calling them, became a thing. So I jumped right on it, and I was paying, oh my God, through the roof for someone to design the layout. I'd have to figure out a way to get all the images over to them, which was like emailing back then was a nightmare because files couldn't be a certain size. So then I would try to do a layout myself in Photoshop. That was a nightmare. Through the years, obviously it's become a lot easier, but I didn't jump on the digital lay flat train immediately because I was still doing the sleep albums because it was just easier. Now I've been doing wedding albums through Album Epica for probably about 10 years. And they were doing my designs. years ago.
So I love how we went way back in time.
I date myself.
We went through a whole time capsule because I remember my mother had those albums. Like I remember family albums where she would slip in the pictures and everything. And so I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. So my question is like, was it hard to convince your clients to say like, hey, this is what we're doing with your pictures, or were they already on board with getting those slip-in pictures?
It was never really hard because I always sold albums as a keepsake. This is something that your children are going to hold in their hands and look at. This is something that you're going to buy for your parents, and they're going to go to their jobs or an event, and they're going to be able to show people, what a beautiful day this was. So it was never really hard to sell them on the idea of the album. It was hard in the beginning for them to justify the cost. So I had to probably take a little bit of loss in the beginning. So maybe if I was paying out of pocket, let's just say $250 for an album, maybe my profit was $75. So I charged them $325. As time has gone on and these albums have become so beautiful, and now we have acrylic covers and their picture can be the cover. You can have a pink leather, spine and back. You can have the case be their photo and then, foiled and engraved with their names and their date of favorite saying, their lyrics to their first dance song. Now that things are a little bit more elaborate and so beautiful, it's a lot easier to sell the idea. But those first couple years were a little sketchy. I'll definitely admit that.
Yeah. And I love how transparent you are about like justifying the cost is a real thing. Yeah. Right. It's a real thing a lot of photographers go through. And especially when we talk about in-person sales and album sales and print sales, is communicating that justification. Right. So what was your process and your mental process in going through your business that now you don't have to feel like you're justifying the cost with every couple?
Yeah. So the one thing I definitely do now, as opposed to years ago, is I educate my clients. I bring them into the office, they sit down, and I physically show them samples of other weddings or a wedding at their venue or what the latest album design would look like. And I put it in their hands and I put it in front of them and I let them touch it. They see that it's tangible. They look through it. It obviously tells the story of somebody's day, so they can envision it telling the story of their day. And it's a lot easier once we're face to face. Now, had I been over FaceTime or maybe a Zoom call or maybe just through email, I'm not sure that I would have as much of a success rate. And also, my clientele now is at a different price point. And I always am transparent and I say, I didn't start out at this price point. Trust me, I was in $1,500, $2,500 price point for a very long time. But now my couples are spending upwards of $8,500. So now most of my wedding collections or wedding packages, however you term it, offers the album. So they don't even have a choice not to say no to it. I don't give them that, well, can we take this out and, substitute it for this? No. You either get the album or you can forfeit it. I give them the option. If you don't want it, you don't have to make it. But nobody ever does that. So it's been so much easier bringing them in, putting it physically in their hands, and then telling them, okay, well, I have collection A, B, and C. All offer an album except C offers 2 parent albums. So then they're like, we can get parent albums. So 9 times out of 10, everyone gets C, which is my highest price package. So I always tell people when I mentor them, in-person sales is such an underrated business. You're leaving so much money on the table. If you just take their photos and throw a gallery at them and never contact them again, because they'll buy canvases and they'll buy prints and they'll definitely buy those albums. And then when they see how beautifully you can design them, I mean, it's a no-brainer at most of the time.
I feel like this is gospel right now. It's so true because you're like, you had this objection and you combated the objection by just removing it away. Yep. Like removing away all those obstacles. And it's such an easy thing to do, but it's a hard mindset shift. I know. And so I'm glad that, like your transparency and sharing with people, because you're right. There's so much money that people leave on the table because they are afraid to combat these objections. And it sounds like you're doing that beautifully well. Yeah. A lot of people do tell me, I get nervous with in-person sales. I'm an introvert. I hear that all the time. Well, I wasn't always this way either. But if you don't try, how do you know? You
aren't really good at it. I mean, at some point we all had to learn to drive and swim and cook for ourselves. I mean, this business game is no different.
Yeah. You know, when I speak to students and at conferences, I normally say no one wakes up one day and wants to buy a car.
Yeah, exactly.
This is a process. It's a process. It's a relationship. It's communication, and that's how successful you are, is because you're putting in that work and that communication.
A lot of photographers don't offer albums. So when you decide as a photographer, yes, I'm going to start doing this, whether you're doing boudoir or families or pets or weddings like me, set yourself apart from everyone else in your area. I can think of maybe in my general creative market, maybe 3 other photographers that do albums like I do. Do you know how many weddings there are in New Jersey or the East Coast alone? So right there, you set yourself apart when you offer something that nobody else does.
These are facts. I have moved my business 3 times, and the fact that I offer albums always makes me stand out. So like, if you guys are listening to this, rewind it and take this word as gold, because it's true. And so I'm curious, what in your words is the benefit for photographers to start offering albums to their couples?
The biggest benefit is monetarily, of course. So if I sell a wedding package for $7,500, but I push the parent albums, now they're up to $8,500. 9 times out of 10, there's 2 sets of parents. So I just added on another set of parent albums, which I bump up the price almost 3 times. So I added an additional $1,100. There is so much more money to be made than just you booking that wedding, getting a deposit, a final payment, and then a tip at the day of the wedding. I'm still working with my couples, sometimes 2-3 years after the wedding. And then not only that, they now think you're the authority for all things printing, so they come to you for other things. And it's sad to say, but do you know how many people have come to me that have loved ones pass away and they might need a canvas for the entry photo? I mean, I've done so many different things outside of their wedding. Now they've asked me to shoot their maternity. It's not something I advertise, but I do it for my couples. They want an album. I mean, of course you want those memories. So you continue the relationship, which continues putting money in your pocket. And like, who doesn't want more money from one signing, one person that took a chance and said they want to work with you? And then now they're referring you out because they love you, they trust you, you've provided a quality product. So of course they're going to rave about you. And then when all their bridal party members get married, or their frat brothers or their college friends or their work buddies, they send them to me. So it's just an ongoing thing. Don't leave that one day with them on the table. Like, just continue having a relationship with them. Some of my clients have been on my Facebook and contacted me for things throughout the years, for photos of this and that, for well over 10 years. I go to their pages. Every time I do something for them, it's immediately their Facebook cover photo or their Instagram profile photo. So I'm getting free advertising too. It's just, you have to remember, like, don't deliver those pictures and just break ties. Like, I'm done with that job. No, like, continue the relationship.
I feel like this is like a masterclass on relationship building, but it's so relative, right? You know, we're talking about albums, but the reality is that we are building relationships and telling stories. And I'm so glad that you introduced that, because a lot of photographers, they get scared because they're just like, I don't know how to do this. Well, you know how to talk to people.
Yeah, exactly. We talk to so many people on the jobs that we shoot. We're literally like the jack of all trades when it comes to communication.
I love it. So I want to rewind it back just for a little bit. Your process, you talked about, you know, they come into your office or your studio, you have the samples in there. So I would love for you to just walk me through, what does that look like? Like that most memorable client or that most, you know, memorable wedding that you have. What did that process look like from the moment they enter your studio for the first time to the moment that they left with the album in their hands?
So I probably would bring up this one couple, Michelle and Jeff. So her fiance at the time, when we first met, they ended up booking me. We signed our contract. He was completely against getting an album. They forfeited it, as I say in my contract. They got their wedding photos back. Once I deliver my clients their wedding photos, it's in a pass gallery. So I still send them an email telling them, you have, X amount of photos. They're all so beautiful. If you would like to make an album, please heart your favorite images. So they start to heart their images, whether they're going to make an album or not. And then once I get a list back from Pass Gallery, your client has created a favorites list. I make an album. And I send it to them. So now here's Jeff. He wants his album. Well, dude, you forfeited it. So they paid for it again, which I'm very, very strict. I do not let people talk over me or try to rebuild my contracts. My contracts are legally made. They are what they are. There is no changing it. So they did pay for their album again. They came back into the office the day of they picked it up. She cried. He was ecstatic. I think he went to the bathroom. She was like, I want this album bigger. I said, all right, let's talk him into it. So they had already paid for their wedding, paid another $1,100 for the album that they forfeited that they were entitled to. He came back in. So at the time, I would go up to 12 by 18 square. That was my biggest. Or no, I'm lying. You could do 12 by 18 square or 11 by 14 vertical. So I pushed for the 12 by 18, which was like 3 times what they had. They had an 8 by 8, which was a small album I offered back then. So she told him, she said, babe, I really love this. Can we get it bigger? He said, absolutely. Didn't even bat an eye. Then he added on 4 more parent albums. I remember getting okay, because it was a long time ago, so I had to write things down. There wasn't like an iPad where I could just be so I got up, I got my form that I was writing down what their order was. I turned the Keurig on. And I remember sitting there do I cry? I just made almost, no, I probably was beet red, flustered, because I just took a chance and designed an album from their favorites. I made oh my gosh, if I can do the math quickly and being honest without fibbing, probably another $15K from the dude who didn't even want an album. And now they have 4 kids. I've done all of her maternity sessions. I did 2 of her live births where she had me in the hospital with her. I don't even know how many albums I've made. I set up 3 or 4 shoots for, Cake Smash and stuff for them. I've done about 7 bridal party members. So I probably paid off my car 4 times in the amount that I made from them.
Yeah.
And it just always goes back to just try. If they're selecting their images and you see they've made a favorites list, make an album from it. They don't buy it, they don't want it, but you never know. So from that couple, from the time we met till about 3 years later, I want to say we were just working on albums together, I made an easy 20-something thousand, 25,000. So it's my favorite story. I'm not ever going to tell her that. But the thing that I realized, and I hope everyone takes this away when they see this video of us chatting, we always have the mentality as creatives that we don't want to charge for our art, right? Oh, I can't charge that. I'm not worth, or they don't have the money, or, whatever the case may be. They make a lot of money back from their wedding. Okay? People forget that. So 9 times out of 10, their honeymoon's already booked, or they've asked for donations at the bridal shower for it. So they do have a lot of extra money to spare, and they're usually already living together. After the wedding is when they're the most at ease and the easiest to talk to and the easiest to talk into doing something. And it's when they have disposable money. And we're always afraid to say well, this is $1,100. Command your prices and know that your couples have it to spend. Especially here, I'm not sure where everybody's at, but here on the East Coast, we have the Jersey bride. Those Jersey brides will spend $300,000 on their wedding and be divorced in 2 years and spend $300,000 on their next wedding. So I love how when I mentor, I try to tell people, do not think that they're coming to you poor me, I don't have it to spend. They do. They absolutely do. And start looking at things. When you go to shoot them, Who's the designer on the wedding dress? Are their shoes red bottoms? What's the venue? You'll see all these cues, like, and hints, like, they have it. So why dip into it? You're not doing anything wrong. You're providing the money. And just know that it took me in Fundy 10 minutes to like get the album together that I really loved. And they really spent a lot of money.
I love it. So that was an amazing story. I'm curious as where does Fundy come in that process, right? Because you said you sent them an online gallery. They hearted the images. And walk us through, after they hearted the images, what did you have to do in Fundy? How long did it take you to do that before they came into the studio to see everything?
So I have to not talk about that couple then, because that was a long time ago. Let's talk about
that's fine.
Yeah, Fundy wasn't a thing then. So if you know me, have you ever seen me at any of the conferences I speak at? I'm always like bejeweled and diamonds. Yep. All right, so I love money. I love it a lot, and I'll never not say, people are like, money doesn't make you happy. I completely think money makes you happy. And people always say, why are you always happy? And it's because I have a lot of money, and I will never not say that I have I don't teach classes on it, but I have it, and I love it. And when it came time for my album company was designing my albums for free, always. Then they sent us a nice little email. Well, now we have a price for layout designs, and this is what it is. At first I was okay with it. Then fast forward to the next calendar year when wedding season would start. Well, we had a price increase in album design. So 20 pages, which was a 10 by 10 spread, 2 pages per spread, was $75. My clients do 50 to 100 pages. So multiply the 25 by 4, I'm losing out on $100. Now, it's not a huge number, but at the time, I was a volume studio shooting 75 weddings a year. So if you're multiplying that, I was losing a lot in just album design. I was online searching. I was like, there has to be a way. Photoshop wouldn't work. Obviously, Lightroom, you can't do that. I'll admit this, I tried to do an album in Shutterfly and then screenshot it, which printed out as a low resolution, made that mistake. I tried a few different things that I thought could work. Then here comes Fundy. Fundy became a thing. I can't even tell you the first time that I created my project, uploaded the images, I sat there with the mentality like, oh my God, I cannot believe I have to do this. I have so many images. How am I gonna like know the borders or like know which image should go on which spread? And like, lo and behold, Fundy did it for me. And I think I was done with a 40-page, 20-spread album through Fundy in like 5-6 minutes. Did I love all the spreads? Absolutely not. But Fundy gave me the option, look, view, here's other ideas for this page. I was like, oh crap, like I can use another, like, here, let's use this one instead. This is more my style. So Fundy came into my life when a lot of money was leaving it. Fundy saved me a lot of, it wasn't even disposable income because I would have to save a certain portion of what my client's payment was to make sure I could pay for the album shipping because my company's overseas, pay for the design, pay for a bigger design. And then on top of that, I give my clients 2 revisions. So if they wanted to change things, I'd have to resend the images to the album designer, pay more for them to revise it, wait for them to send me back, and then I'd have to upload it on my end and give them a link to view it. I don't have to do any of that with Fundy. So it saved me money, saved me time, saved me a headache, and has just been a godsend for so long.
I love it. And I know we chatted before. Fundy literally just came out with a new release. Like their version 11, which has now made things so much faster. So when you talk about the story about how, starting using Fundy has saved you so much time and brought money back into your business.
Right.
What does this new release now do for you as much as a time saver and the amount of money that now you don't have to even think about because it's even quicker?
It's almost like is this program good to be true? So I did 5 albums the other day in 15 minutes.
Wow.
And not only that, do you see the way you can send the album layouts to your clients? Like I'm picking the colors for their link, and I'm putting my logo, and I'm putting their names and wedding date. It's so professional and pretty. And I'm all about branding and aesthetic. So the new version is crazy quick, and it's really freaking good. Like I used to have to go through and maybe pick a different spread or a different page. I don't know if it's weirdly learned my style because I'm flipping through the albums now and they're perfect. So it's sped up my delivery time, and I used to do maybe 1 or 2 albums in a sitting. Now I'm doing like 5, and they're all sent out.
That's amazing. That's how quick it is, right?
Yeah, it's like almost too good to be true. Like sometimes I'm like, are you for real?
I love it. I love it. So as we wrap up, I would love to know, is there anything that you would love to leave the listeners? Like when we're talking about album design, we're talking about saving time, we're talking about making more money in the business. What is one thing you would love to leave the listeners with?
I would say get over your fear. I was afraid to have to download a new program, learn a new program, sit and like, oh my gosh, I have to put the images in a folder. I'm never a person that likes to do more work than I have to. Fundy is so seamlessly easy that if you would just sit for 2 seconds, download the program, sign up, pick whichever, whether you're going to lease it or buy it, and just start a job, you're really going to see how much time you're going to give yourself back in your business. And work-life balance is very important. The more you have off your computer, the better your life will be. So just get over your fears. Oh, I don't want to learn a new program. Learn it and thank me later.
Kiamarie, you have been absolutely amazing. If you are not following her, please go follow her. She does amazing work, but even better, she is an amazing business guru. You just heard it yourself. All of the nuggets that she's just been dropping, networking, relationships, money, time saving. It is perfect. Thank you for sharing your time and your knowledge. I love it.
Yeah, anytime. I love this. I love chatting it up with other creatives who are just as passionate as I am. If you aren't using Fundy Designer, you're losing out on a lot of money and you're losing out on a lot of time. If you aren't offering albums, you are really ruining relationships with clients who already trust you and will come to you for everything in the future because you are the authority in photography for them. If you aren't designing bigger albums, you are losing out. Now, I know I said it before, but on so much more money. The bigger, the better, the more money will come into your business.